And, without the trauma or the breaking, there couldn't be the healing. So,
Right.
it's all comes full circle. But it's really the art of deliberate creation. That's how I define manifest.
I like
It's
that.
really, well, because like we manifest everything all the time, but not always
Right.
deliberately,
Right.
right? Not always
Right.
on purpose. So my whole
Mhm.
thing is to help people live more intentional lives.
All right, y'all, let's jump in. I'm here with Kelsey. So excited to have Kelsey on. I was on Kelsey and Lindsay's podcast not too long ago. And then I had Lindsay on, interviewed Lindsay like a week or so ago. And now Kelsey's here, the whole gang. So thanks so much for coming on, Kelsey.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad we get to have another jam sesh
Me
because our episode on
too.
Vibin It was so good. So I'm excited to do it
Yeah,
again on
it's
your
so
show.
fun. Yes, I know. You're so fun to talk to. So I would love for you just to start because there's so many different directions we could take this conversation, but I would love if you can just kind of start with just telling the audience a little bit about you and what you do in the world.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. My name is Kelsey Aida, Aida like the opera, and I am all about quality of life, energetic alignment, which includes topics and, hobbies such as manifestation, radical self-love, healing, and I actually am by trade a cosmetologist. That's what I went to school for.
Nice.
Which I like to joke like I'm a therapist because I'm one of those people that has like an invisible neon sign on my forehead, like I can solve all your problems. Tell me your whole life story. So like no matter where I go, people are always asking me for advice. So I've always kind of naturally fallen into the role of like a guide, an advisor, a coach. And in recent years, I had some intuitive abilities open up even more than ever before. In addition to like when I was younger, I studied a lot about energy and manifestation and yoga and spirituality. And so now I'm really just here. I mean, I only do hair like one day a week, but my main focus is to write books, to coach clients, to host retreats that help people to really align with their highest possible timeline, to manifest their dreams, to live the life that they want deep down inside, and to help them to just sift and sort through any blockages that are in the way of that, get rid of those, and move on to the next level. So that's a little bit about what I do and who I am.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have I know you're an MG, but do you have a 5-line in your profile?
I do.
Okay.
How did you know?
Pulling that out, the mentor.
I think I'm a 5-1 or what?
That makes sense. I went 5-1. Yeah, that makes total sense. Oh my
Wait,
gosh.
why? Tell me more.
Well, the 5-line is like that's what they're here to be, the mentor and to like model and change, and they seek change and they do the change. And yeah, so you're like totally living your 5-line.
That is funny.
I love it. I have a 5-line too. Mine is in my unconscious. I'm a 3-5, but it's still we have the mentor vibe in us. I love it.
Yes, so I've always had it. It's so interesting. Even when I was little, like my friends would come to me at recess and be like, I don't understand this multiplication thing. And I'd be like, well, just think about it like this. You just add the number to itself that many times. And they would be like, what? The first place. What the heck? Why did she spend 4 hours explaining it to me in a super complicated way when she could have just said that? And I'm like, I don't know, but now you get it. So you're welcome.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yeah, you were born for this. You were born to take the leader mentor role. I love it. I would love to dive into, and I was telling Kelsey before we hit record that, as many spiritual conversations as we've had on this show, and we have gone deep into all things woo because I just love it. But the one thing we haven't really talked about is manifestation, which is kind of a trendy thing. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a trendy thing right now. The word is pretty trendy. But you really work. I feel like here's what I think. I feel like the manifestation. I feel like the terminology and the word there's like multiple ways you can look at it, right? Like there's kind of some like, I don't know, stigma around the word. And there's also kind of like some like woo-woo, like frou-frou stuff around the word where it really doesn't have to be. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's just become more complex than the concept itself the past. And you can, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but you work in this realm, and you do courses and you do retreats and you do coaching and all this stuff to help people with this part of life manifestation. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it and kind of dive into this part of your world.
Yeah, of course. So if we want to go like more quantum, and then I'll bring it home and like narrow it down, make it more simple.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is a manifestation, right?
Right.
Everything before it was a thing, before it was an experience, before it was a tree, before it was a person, before it was anything, it was created, right? By something, someone, God, the universe, spirit, whatever you believe in, right? And the way that I like to look at it is as children of God or as fractals of God. I like to think that everything, like all things that are conscious, like make up God as a whole, and we're all just like parts of it, that we have the same creative abilities. Now, it's not on such a big level because you're just a small part, right? So you can't just like manifest the perfect weather for the whole world by yourself or like, manifest something bad to happen to that person. Like you're not in control of the karma here. But you, as a powerful creator of your own realm, your own world, your own experience, your own reality, consciously and subconsciously, you're always creating experiences. Now, people get a little hung up on like, how could I have created this bad thing? How could I have created that? I never asked for that. I never even worried about that. Like it wasn't even on my radar and it still happened. Well, it's not often taught that we have many points of attraction and many parts of us that we create from. So oftentimes when we hit the challenges, the traumas, the roadblocks, it's coming from our soul creating that experience for us to grow, change, learn, evolve. So of course, consciously, you didn't ask for that. Nobody asked for bad things to happen. I hate that they happen to people, but it's a part of life. It's part of growth. And, without the trauma or the breaking, there couldn't be the healing. So, it's all comes full circle. But it's really the art of deliberate creation. That's how I define manifest. It's really, because like we manifest everything all the time, but not always deliberately, right? Not always on purpose. So my whole thing is to help people live more intentional lives where they say, okay, this is what I want to create next. I'm going to, meditate on this. I'm going to journal about this. I'm going to really start embodying the vibes of this. I'm going to get rid of any blockages that I'm holding that are in my way of this. And I'm going to get excited to receive it and energetically line up with it. However that looks for them, because the process can be different depending on where you are and what you're wanting and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's really just the art of creating your life on purpose, going for what you want, knowing what you want, and then, making a life that you love.
I love that. That's such a good explanation. What do you find are some of the myths, like the biggest myths around manifesting, like what it is, how to do it, that whole thing? I'm sure you could say gazillion, but if you want to narrow it down.
Yeah, I think like, especially in this TikTok day and age, there's a lot of weird rituals that people put out there that are like, oh, in order for your dream to come true, you have to write it in this color pen 5 times a day, 5 times on this sheet, and like all this weird ritualistic stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. Or people think that they can manifest for other people, which we can co-create with other people, but like the other person has to be on board on a soul or like human level. So you can't really just manifest for someone for better or worse. What else? That the law of attraction only works for some people, but not them. But that's really just an affirmation that makes it not work out in your favor. So really the irony is that it's always working and you're just affirming that and then it's happening. I mean, man, there's a lot. Something that bothers me is when people try to manifest specific people, like when they're trying to manifest a relationship and they're like, it has to be with this person. I find that so cringy because 1, I used to do it and it never worked. 2, it's just like, why are you trying to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? If they want to be with you, they'll be with you, right? So it's like, have some more self-respect and self-love than that. That's where my frustration comes in with that. Yes. So that's one of my manifesting pet peeves. Not really a myth, but I don't know. That's a couple. I mean, I'm sure there's like many, many more, but
what would you say like to people? Cause I hear this all the time. Like people think like, God's conspiring against them and nothing's happening and everything they're asking for isn't working. Like this manifestation thing doesn't work. Either they say, I'm not doing it right. I don't know how to do it, or it doesn't work. I just would love to know your thoughts on that piece when people think like it just doesn't work for them, or, God hates you or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, God doesn't hate you, but I can understand how you would feel like that. I felt like that when I used to suffer from depression. I was like, why did this happen to me? Why am I being punished? I don't understand. What did I do? And you make it about you, and like, it's not about you.
Right.
It's usually when we go through those things, it's about the soul, right? It's like a soul initiative coming from your higher self, your soul, to, evolve, grow, learn something. Or maybe it was a soul contract you had with somebody else where you're like, okay, in this lifetime, we're going to go in together and this is going to be the situation so that you can grow and I can grow and we can connect in this way and disconnect in this way and whatever. But as far as when you feel like it's not working for you, maybe it's not working for you, like it's not working to your benefit, right? At this moment, but it's always happening. It's kind of like saying, oh, like gravity applies to everyone else but me. Like gravity chose not like to let me float away. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like gravity is all the time on this earth, right? Yeah. That's why they call it the law of attraction. It's kind of like gravity. It's always happening all the time. But it's more than just intention setting work. And I think that's where people get mixed up, because they're like, oh, I made a vision board. I did my affirmations. I prayed about it. I talked to my friends about it. I wrote a blog post about whatever it is. Like people do the intention setting work and then they're like, okay, where's my stuff? Yep. Why isn't it happening? It's not happening fast enough. Don't understand. I guess this means this isn't meant for me. Blah, blah, blah. Story's gone. But when that happens, it just means that you're carrying one form or another of resistance. And resistance can show up in the form of a limiting belief. It could be a part of you is scared to experience that thing that you think that you want so bad. It could be a reluctance to experience that thing because in the past it didn't go well, or you think something bad could come of it. A lot of times it's like just sneaky stuff happening in our subconscious that we're not aware of, right? So we think, of course I want all this money. Of course I want to fall in love. Of course I want my dream house. Of course I want to be happy and healthy and skinny and whatever else people want. But, if parts of you don't feel safe to step into that reality, like you're not going to. Right. So you're not going to move towards the manifestation and it's not going to come towards you. There's going to be a blockage. Right. So that's really what I help my clients to troubleshoot, and people who read my books. I have exercises for releasing resistance. And my big thing is like the manifestation troubleshooting, because this happens to so many people where they're like, okay, I did all the stuff, but like, where's my stuff? It's not, I'm not moving the needle, and it could be so many different things. So that's why it's hard to just give like a one size fits all answer. But sometimes it's past life stuff. Sometimes it's ancestral stuff. Sometimes you're just, generally not in the vibe. Like if you're a super negative person and you want to have a happy life, like that's not how it works, you know? So sometimes it's more obvious. Sometimes it's less obvious, but it always just comes down to some form of resistance. Yeah. And if you can do a little digging, get curious and find out what that is, then you can unblock it. You can untangle it. You can work with it. You can move the energy so that you are in alignment, which would be the opposite of resistance. And when you're in alignment, that means all of you, or I would say at least like the majority of you, is calling in that thing and working towards that thing or experience simultaneously. Right. So what is the the practices plural? What do the practices look like that help with manifestation? Because like you're saying, it's not about all this ritualistic things, but there are things that, you can do or should do, or, however you want to say it, to kind of facilitate the process. So what does that look like? Yeah. So the first step is really just to get clear about what you want. And usually people have something in mind, like I really want my next house to be so beautiful and big and amazing, or I really want to make this much money, or I really want to be healthy and heal this ailment that I have, or whatever it is, right? We all have a goal. Start with the goal and then go a little deeper. What's the goal of your goal? Why do you want that house? Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want that partner? And then when you ask yourself why, you're going to get to what you actually want, which are the feelings, the sensations, the experience that you think having that thing is going to allow you to feel, right? When I'm in love, I will feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
I am rich, I will feel abundant. When I am living in that house, I will feel safe. Whatever it is. When I lose 20 pounds, I will feel cute. Okay. So just basic examples. You have to get to the core of what you want, because that's how you can manifest what you actually want more directly. You can go for the cuteness, you can go for the love, you can go for the safety in the now. And as a side effect, your manifestation comes almost effortlessly.
Mm.
So that's kind of the workaround. Go for what you actually want, which is what I teach. And the thing that you said you wanted in the beginning, it will still come, but it will be easier and you'll be aligned with it. I have a bunch of self-inquiry where I guide people through this process. Actually, one of my books, it's called Letters to the Universe, and it's a manifesting journal. And it kind of walks people through the questions of like, what do I want? Why do I want it? How can I start working towards it? Why am I self-sabotaging this? If I am, let's explore that, and it has a bunch of helpful questions to kind of get you in alignment. And then you can do some intention setting work and write a letter to the universe about what you're creating next and how excited you are to experience it and blah, blah, blah. So that's a really great resource. But once you ask yourself a couple questions and get clear, one really, really important, easy question you can ask yourself if you're not working with a facilitator like me is, once you know what you want, then ask and be open to the answer. Don't block the answer from coming. Be open. Ask yourself, is there any part of me that's not on board with what I think I want? So, easy example. If you want to manifest meeting your soulmate, so you can be in love and roll off into the sunset happily ever after, but you're still like super traumatized from all your past situationships that were horrible, a part of you might be like, I'm not down to do that again. Like, no, thank you. I hate dating. Men suck, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then you're like, oh, okay, I really thought I wanted this thing, but there's a part of me that's like clearly not on board. So how can I reason with, calm, soothe, talk to this part of myself to get all of me on board for what I say that I want? And that's like a lot of the work that I do with people. But I would say start with what you think you want, then investigate the goal of the goal, and then see if any part of you is not on board and troubleshoot from there.
Right. That makes sense.
Because that's like the missing piece for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. I think so often, because I mean, I hear this all the time. It's people, it's hard for people. And actually it's funny because me and Lindsay talked about this when she was on the show about like how the subconscious, like it's not logical, right? It's not in charge of logical thinking. And so sometimes it's hard to grasp where you're like, why wouldn't I want to be rich? Why wouldn't I want to be healthy? Why wouldn't I want the great relationship? Like you can't like your logical mind can wrap your head around like, why would I be sabotaging that? Like, why would I not want it? I think that's a big piece is people don't, like you're talking about, getting curious and do kind of that deeper work to really peel back the layers, because there's something there. I mean, there's something that's blocking it or slowing it down or whatever. And I think it's just hard for people to grasp that on a logical level.
Yeah, because when you think about it, you can't think of anything.
Right.
Like you can't think of any reasons why you wouldn't want that thing that you want so bad, you know? But just because you can't think of it when you try to doesn't mean it's not there. You got to do a little more digging sometimes, which is like, and if it's hard for people to do that on their own, like that's where I come in and work with people one-on-one. Like, hey, let's get a little curious. Let's peep around in there, see what we find. And then we're like, oh, okay, now we have something to work with. Let's move that. Let's clear that. And moving on to the next level.
Yeah. I think the other thing I hear a lot too, and I saw somebody on Instagram last week that was talking about this. People think that you have to feel good all the time. You have to be in high vibe all the time. That's the only way. You can't have bad days. You can't be sad. You can't and that's the only way that you can manifest things. Yeah. And obviously that's not right, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, it makes me sad when people think that, because that's like the classic toxic positivity where people then try to fake feeling good. But you can't fake your vibe to the universe. So that's not doing anything good for your energy and your alignment and your attraction abilities, right? What I like to say is that, well, think of it like this. We talked about resistance, right? One form of resistance can be resisting how you're actually feeling. And when you're doing that, energetically, you're closed. Your energy is not moving, not flowing, not attracting, not magnetic. You are stuck. You are closed and you're repelling. You're trying to push away how you actually feel, which doesn't work. And you are just generally in resistance. And resistance is the name of the game. It's no bueno when it comes to manifestation. Even if maybe you're not manifesting that thing maybe you're not resisting the thing that you want, but maybe you're resisting your current experience, which could be sadness, which could be anger, which could be depression, hopelessness, whatever it is, which is part of the reason why my work with people has so much to do with emotional clearing, processing, healing, which our emotional body knows how to do, but we just often don't give it the space.
Right.
We don't give ourselves the time. We don't give ourselves the love to, go through that process. And it can be hard and scary to do it by yourself. So I think there's definitely a lot of benefit to having a practitioner, whether it's a therapist or a coach or someone to hold space for you if it's scary or if it's hard. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it totally does. Yes. No, I do. I totally agree with that. And I think, the whole feeling your feelings thing applies on so many levels. Cause I do that in my work when we're doing energetic clearings and where are you holding, these stuck emotions that are causing these physical things to happen to your body. It applies so much. And I think the toxic positivity thing, like you mentioned, is such an unfortunate thing. That's kind of, I know it didn't start from the whole manifestation thing, but I feel like it's just been kind of attached itself to that because people
it's a conclusion that people came to.
Yes.
They're oh, if my vibe attracts my tribe, if it's all about my vibe and feeling good is high vibe and feeling bad is low vibe, then that must mean that if I'm in a low vibrational state that I'm going to attract low vibrational stuff.
Right.
Which over the long term, I would say yes, that there's truth to that. If you're having a bad day for 3 years straight, it's probably gonna you're gonna have some momentum there. And it's gonna, it will probably you're gonna miss the bus and you're gonna stub your toe and stuff's gonna happen. But in the short term, things don't manifest that fast, especially denser stuff.
Right.
So if you're in a lower vibrational state or a state of worry or anxiety or sadness and you have those thoughts, they're not just instantly manifesting. You have some time to feel them, to process them, to let them go, to move through you so that you naturally come back to a higher vibrational state. And then if you're majority of the time in a higher vibrational state, which I've found is a direct consequence of feeling your feelings, no matter what they are, you can always come back to feeling better. And that becomes your practice, your ritual.
Right.
Then you're a super high vibrational person. You're never in a state of resistance and manifestation is easy. You don't have to feel good all the time.
Right.
And I want to give people this reframe. That's not about feeling good all the time. It's about being good at feeling.
Right. Oh, that's
how you move energy. That's how you become aligned to your highest timeline, to your most feeling self.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Abraham Hicks always says, choose the better feeling thought. And it's you don't have to turn yourself all the way the other direction, but it's just find the next best thing, the better feeling thought of this one that you, and I agree. I love that, the feeling the things, feeling all, getting good at feeling it. It makes so much sense. And you mentioned at the beginning kind of, what you do, but I'd love to know kind of going a little deeper there, just how you got into this. You went to school for something else and now you're doing all the fun things. So how did you get into what pushed you into this?
Yeah. So in my late teens, early adulthood, I actually suffered from depression for 3 years. And it was the perfect storm of training my whole life to be a professional ballerina, but getting injured right before the finish line. So that was obviously very traumatic for me to that was my whole future, my whole dream, and life just crumbled. And, being a teenager is already hard. There's a lot of hormonal changes going on. I got on birth control. That really effed me up. It was the perfect storm of that. Plus, I generally was just lacking connection with myself and others. And I'm a very sensitive, connection needy person. So that wasn't working for me. But I couldn't really put words to that at the time. So I fell into a hole. I contemplated suicide only because that felt if I wasn't existing, that would be like relief. Or I would always like pray for a coma. I was like, okay, I don't really want to die, but like I just need a break. Like just give me 2 years of sleep and then I can wake up happy and like everything will be good.
Oh my
So
gosh.
in that moment, there was like one day where I just had this epiphany and I was like, wait a minute. I didn't always feel like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to be happy. I used to be bubbly. I used to have hobbies. I used to have friends. I used to be social. Like what happened?
Right.
Right? Like I'm tired of feeling like this is I just like somehow not snapped out of it, but I was able to have enough perspective that I was, oh, this is not me. This is something that's happening to me temporarily. It didn't used to happen. So maybe that means it doesn't always have to happen. Right. And I opened myself to that possibility. And then I started working with a therapist, working with a shaman, getting better, learning a lot about energy, emotions, manifestation. And this is where all the right teachers and courses and certifications and information and help and support started entering my life, because I literally made an ultimatum with the universe. I was like, help a girl out. Like, what's a girl got to do to feel good around here? Like, hello, I'm willing and able to like feel better. Just like show me the next step. And in doing that, you know, I was able to eventually climb out. I didn't want to use medicine, so I didn't. Not that I'm like anti-medicine, but I don't think it's like sustainable for everyone to do all the time. And yeah, when I was starting to feel better and really integrating everything I was learning, something was just like clicking. Like a lot of things were clicking, and I was like, oh my God, everybody needs to know this information. And then I just had this urge to like be the next Deepak Chopra and write all these self-help books.
I love it.
And it kind of escalated pretty quickly from there.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the backstory. And that's why I'm so like such an advocate for self-love, quality of life, getting what you want out of life, because I know that if you have a bad quality of life, you would rather die than like keep living. So what does that say about what's important to us as people, right? It's not only about surviving. Thriving is also key. Key. So that's what I help people do.
Yeah, I love it. What a good, I love the comeback stories are always the best ones. Like that's just, I mean, that's how, I mean, and you just speaking in human design terms here, you as your 5, I mean, that's how you teach too. It's, you know, you're teaching from your experience and your life experience and all this. I mean, you're like truly living out your design. It's so awesome.
I call it the school of life.
Yeah, totally.
Like nobody ever asked me for any credentials, but if they did, I would be like, degree, life? Master's degree, PhD from like University of Life. Hello.
That's so accurate.
Do you need? Like,
right?
Not to like poop on therapy, because I love therapy. And I think if you find a good therapist, it's very valuable. But a lot of therapists, one of the key pieces and why it doesn't work and why they're not relatable is because they're going from the book and it's not something they've overcome. It's not something they've experienced. So it's not something they can relate to, which is where I feel like the value of working with a coach or facilitator such as myself or such as yourself can really be so beneficial, or even a great additive if you're already seeing a therapist, because they have been there and they've done that, you know? So I've been to the darkest parts. I've been to the brightest parts, and I obviously enjoy hanging out in the bright parts much better.
Yes.
But I feel like no matter what direction you stretch in, it's like equal and opposite. So no matter how far you go down the dark rabbit hole, you're expanding your capacity to receive light at the same time. So don't be scared. You're just stretching your experience, and anything is possible, really.
I love that. That's such good wisdom there. And yeah, I agree with you too. I think it's amazing how far empathy can go. I think empathy can go a long way. And like you're saying, like working with somebody who's been there and who's done that, and it does that. Because I mean, I think it's like, I agree with you too on the credentials part, because I think it's the same with like running a business, right? Like I've never been to business school. Like I don't have any degrees in business, and you cannot tell me that the things that I've, learned over the past decade as a business owner, I would have learned in school. Like, yeah, some of it maybe, but like you only learn it from being in the trenches and like experiencing it and learning it. And it's the same with life. I mean, it is the greatest teacher, I think. And I mean, you can go to school and get all the degrees all day long, but I don't think it's going to serve you as well as being able to live it out and then teach from your experience.
Yeah,
So
that can just be a foundation. And
yeah.
like speaking of school and certifications, like if everybody only learns the same information, there's never
Hmm.
going to be new thought
Totally.
or new ideas or new approaches. You know, if every single life coach was like, I went to this school to learn
Hmm.
life coaching, then everyone would have the same approach
Yep.
and would get the same results, and there wouldn't
Yep.
be innovation and there wouldn't be progress and there wouldn't be growth. So, yeah, that's just my spiel. I mean, I have
That's so
plenty of
true.
certifications, but also
Yeah.
like sometimes I don't really put any weight on them because I'm like,
Right.
well, I think University of Life is the way to go.
Yeah. Totally, for sure. Yeah, I can tell you. We've all spent thousands of dollars and all of that, but then it's like, okay, the real teacher here is, yeah, I totally agree. What do you have, as we're kind of starting to wrap up, do you have any like top tips or strategies for people to start implementing now that are listening to this? And maybe they've either been a skeptic before, or they're like, okay, after listening to you, they're like, okay, I get it. Like it can work for me. Do you have any tips or strategies on like kind of jumping in, getting started? Is there like pre-work involved? Like, how do we get going with this?
Yeah, yeah. Well, honestly, I would just experiment with what feels good to you as far as like intention setting work. So there's like scripting about what you want to experience. There's guided meditations to help you, call in what you're asking for. There are, affirmations you can practice. So playing around with those, having fun with that, making it like not work, but just like play. And if you need ideas for that, check out my book, My Pocket Guide to Manifestation, because that has a bunch of like step-by-step exercises. And it's really
Perfect.
good for beginners and intermediate people. So if you're like newbie, I don't know how to manifest or where to start or how to do it, get that book. Letters to the Universe, if you're a journaler or a scripter, that's also a great resource. But once you've been playing with the intention setting work for some time, just, getting curious about the resistance piece. And if you need help working with someone like me or someone like you to help untangle those blockages. And then I feel like living as like a great manifester is really just about living in alignment in all ways. So how can we just practice non-resistance in all the ways, right? Not resisting our feelings, not resisting what we really want,
Right.
not holding back our truth, spending our time in a way that would clearly show someone else what we value, right? Living in alignment with your values, your priorities, your desires. So really it's just a lifestyle of loving yourself enough to ask for and go for what you really want. And then doing that.
Yeah, I love it. Those are so good. Okay, I do have one more question that I like to ask everybody as we wrap up. But before I do that, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and your books and all the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so you can find all the books by wherever you buy books, whether it's Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever. You can just search Kelsey Aida and all my books will pop up. There's 5. I've self-published a couple. There's one on self-love, a couple on affirmations. There's some published by Simon & Schuster, the manifesting ones, Affirmations for Happiness. People love that book. But yeah, check out all my books, or you can just go to kelseyaida.com. That's where all the books are too. And then on social, I'm pretty active on Instagram and TikTok at Kelsey Aida, just my first and middle name. And what else? People can find me at Vibin It, the podcast. Obviously, they should listen to your episode. I don't remember what number that was, but it was recently. So just scroll down a little bit and you'll find hope. And that's where you can find me.
All the things.
Podcast
Perfect.
and the social and the website, and I'm everywhere.
I love it. I'm so inspired by all of your books. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
A big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal.
More to come. Stay tuned.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I am a journaler, so that it was like right at my alley. You said the journaling. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And the Letters to the Universe, that journal, a lot of like coaches and like hardcore manifestors and like people have been in it for a while. They really like that one because it's more like free form. It's not, and a lot of blank pages for you to do your own thing. And
it's perfect. All right. I'm going to get it. I'm excited. Okay. So the last question I want to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Well, I feel like inherently, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have a purpose. So don't feel pressure with your purpose. That's something I feel like sometimes people get so attached. Like, what is my purpose? Oh my God, I haven't discovered my purpose. Is my purpose tied to my career? And like, it's not always tied to your career. Often it is tied to your career, but not always. Like there are different ways that we contribute besides like working and contributing in that way. So I would say don't get too tied to your purpose. You wouldn't be here if you didn't already have a purpose for being here. So the purpose is inherent. Just in existing, you are helping humanity to learn and to grow, and you're helping the universe to expand every time you want a new desire. And so just be yourself, I would say. Make that your purpose and find out like the most fun, exciting, thriving way to be yourself. Like really study yourself. Like, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What feels good to me? What feels juicy to me? What feels expansive to me? And then live like that.
I love it. That's such good advice. And I totally agree. I do think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it just kind of takes away from the whole point. So it's such good advice.
Like your purpose can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah,
like,
and it can be fluid.
There's no like God like stamp of approval on your purpose. Like you are designed for this thing and that's all you can do. Like maybe today your purpose is to just like enjoy some fresh air and go for a walk. Like you don't have to overcomplicate it and be like, my purpose is to heal the whole world. Like maybe it is that too, but like not in every moment
today.
of the day. Right. Just choose your purpose. What do you want your purpose to be? Do that.
Yes, I love it. Such good advice. Thank you so much, Kelsey. As always, I love chatting with you. This is so fun.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
Gotta do it again.
Much. Yes.
Keep the ball rolling.
That's right. Thanks so much for coming on.